Oh, hello and welcome to today's edition of Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. I'm Les Winston. I'm the national spokesperson for socialsocharity.org. And we are also branding a new theory of social charity. Theory of social charity as 664 equals E squared. Using E to represent endowment, where you can create two endowments, one for yourself and then one for your favorite charity when you die. And you can do that all using a section of the tax code 664. We call it the power of love. It's one of the most powerful forces in the economic world. And my guest this morning is Clay Tucker, who is very well versed in this field and has a designation, which is the Chartered Advisor in Philanthropy designation. And Clay is a professional philanthropic advisor who can help people wend their way along this road to human kindness, Route 664. Good morning, Clay.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Sorry for the long introduction, but we want to make sure folks get oriented to where we are when we discuss this kind of planning with a professional philanthropic advisor. There aren't that many of you out there in the country.
I know when I first got the designation, I think I was one of the first 350 or so with the designation, which I got it back in 2011.
Why did you think it was important to get the designation, Clay?
Well, at the time I became interested in philanthropic planning, I was working in the banking industry. I was an investment advisor, financial planner with several regional banks over here in Georgia. And I had the occasion to work with our trust department on some clients that I referred to them for estate planning, and charitable planning was part of these people's planning requirements. And so I got interested in it through that. And, of all the clients that I worked with, the ones that had charitable intent, I found were the most pleasant to work with. They had a purpose, something they wanted to give back. And so that got me interested in it. And
the element of human kindness.
Exactly. Yeah. Wonderful people to work with. And then when I went independent and left the banking world, I enrolled in the CAP designation course, attained that. And, I do full service financial planning with clients, not just philanthropic planning.
Right.
So a lot of what I do, smaller charitable remainder trusts, some life estates, and helping clients sometimes put together their own charitable gift annuity. Say they want to give money to their church, and it's a small church. They don't have a planned giving program at that church. So we help structure their own charitable gift annuities. And today you wanted me to discuss a particular case, and one that worked out extremely well for all involved.
Yeah, why don't you discuss a particular case that worked out well for all extremely involved? Yeah.
I met this gentleman and his wife at an educational event that I was sponsoring, and it wasn't to do with charitable giving. It was efficient retirement portfolios. And in the course of this program, the gentleman set an appointment with me to meet afterwards. And a week later, we met. He had some specific things he wanted to accomplish. He had significant amount of retirement assets, and he wanted to discuss Roth conversions. He was gifting to his children at $15,000 a year to his two adult children. He had a significant portfolio of stocks that he had bought over the years. Some he'd owned as long as 40 years, some 20, some 30 years. Mm-hmm. A lot of embedded capital gains there. And he also discussed wanting to leave some money to his alma mater. And so, in the course of all this, the Roth conversions, I kind of looked at, okay, his charitable interest in leaving money to his alma mater, we could possibly affect that Roth conversion without really having to use a Roth. So what we did, we looked at all these stocks that he had in his non-qualified portfolio. Mm-hmm. We identified about $1 million, just over $1 million. I think it was $1,016,000 in stocks that we could transfer into a remainder trust. Mm-hmm. And now with that remainder trust, that generated a tax deduction of $368,000 and some change that we could spread over that current year and the 5 subsequent years.
Right.
And so that came out to about $61,300 a year that we could deduct. And
Right.
so that deduction allowed him to take a corresponding amount from his retirement assets
Mhm.
on a tax-free basis because it was offset by that deduction. We didn't have to use a Roth to do it. And because he was gifting to those two adult children, we made them the income beneficiaries of this charitable remainder trust.
Mhm.
So here's how we split it up. We took about 850,000 of that 1,016,000 and put it into a single premium income annuity, immediate annuity, and let it pay out to those two children over a 20-year period. So instead of gifting those kids 15,000 a year, that upped the gift to each of those kids to a little over 31,000. So even after they netted out their federal and state taxes, it was about $25,000 that each of them would receive per year for 20 years.
That's great.
So he was able to transfer over $1 million, which was about what we'd put into that trust, to those two children over the course of that 20-year payout period. And now the remainder that we had in there, we left 102,000 in a money market account within the charitable remainder trust, so we'd know we'd always have enough to satisfy that 10% remainder interest.
Right.
And then the 64,000 we just stuck into a total market index fund. Whatever it grows.
That's a very, very, very good plan, and that is when you're going through it like that, people John out there that's listening right now to this program who has a similar situation of appreciated stock, he may have his head swimming a little bit from all of the different parts of that transaction. And it really brings home the reason for having a professional philanthropic advisor who can take you through those steps and eliminate the complexity for the individual, because it's just like anything else. It's like when you go to your accountant for a tax, when you give him the tax information, you don't sit there with him when he figures out how the tax is going to be paid. He sends you back your tax return. And that's kind of something similar here, where you're taking input. How long does it take to do something like that, Clay? How long was that process?
About 3 months.
Okay.
About 3 months.
And does the client fully understand what he's done?
Yes, because we go through it step by step. I mean, the first thing we needed to do for him was to, identify an estate attorney in our area that had some experience doing these.
Very important.
That was the first thing. We interviewed a couple of attorneys. He found one that he liked and felt like he wanted to work with. And so it was just getting the charitable remainder trust itself established with a tax ID number that took the longest amount of time. It didn't take that long to identify the stocks in his portfolio because he knew which ones he'd owned for a number of years, how much the capital gains were, and how much he wanted to designate to that trust. And it just worked out that we were able to.
But he's your client, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So you've known him for many, many years.
That was our first interaction, was at that dinner that he'd attended, that I'd sponsored, that informational workshop. He is a client. He's been a client of mine now for several years. But
was that the key transaction to make him your client?
That was our first transaction. Yes, was he came at me with all these different things he was doing. I've got a lot of capital gains I'd like to get rid of. I've got kids that I'm gifting to. I'd like to get some money out of my qualified taxable accounts on a tax-free basis. Yeah. And
Clay, let me stop you 1 second. The conversation doesn't go like that, where he sits there and tells you all of this in one fell swoop. You are developing that information over time, and he has trust in you to give you that kind of information, which is very important to understand. For you who are thinking about doing something like this, you have to work with an advisor where you can share everything about yourself, even your dreams and your aspirations. That must have been, very exciting for you to have created that endowment, in a sense, both endowments. You created actually 3 endowments. You're endowing the kids, you're endowing a charity at the end, and you're also endowing the father, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you create 3 endowments, 2 of them while everybody's alive, And the third one occurs when all of the income recipients are passed. That's that's a powerful thing.
Right. At the end of that 20-year payout period, the remainder of the charitable trust would revert to his alma mater.
Right. Whatever was left in the trust that wasn't taken out in the form of income, and of course, whatever growth was there, you had it as a set percentage, correct? There was a certain percentage that's being paid to the people that are getting distribution. What was that percent?
Well, just over 5% a year, because you have to pay out at least 5% a year.
Right.
And so I kind of worked it backwards. How much do we have to leave in to satisfy the charitable remainder interest?
Right.
And then a little bit more. And so we kind of backed into, okay, how much do we want to put into this annuity trust to pay out to the kids?
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of backed into it. We played with the numbers a lot of different ways and just figured out
how. Was the annuity trust a better choice than the unit trust for this gentleman?
Yeah, because he wanted the certainty that it was going to pay a definite amount over that period of time. He didn't want to be subject to the fluctuations of the market. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to make sure that there was enough to satisfy the remainder interest without any guesswork.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a lot of individual problems getting solved by one phenomenal tool. Do you wonder why more people aren't just saying, I'd like to have a 664, I'd like to have a charitable trust, a split interest trust, like the thing you designed? People just don't know about it.
That's right. They're not informed. They don't know about it. And a lot of their advisors, really aren't chartered advisors in philanthropy. And that's not the first thing that pops into their mind when they see a client's balance sheet.
Right.
They say, okay, you've got a ton of capital gains over here. You've got this over here.
Right.
What a nice tool this would be to accomplish objectives 1, 2, and 3.
Exactly. Powerful stuff. Now, the gentleman that's listening to me right now, he's probably got a 401k plan. And so he knows what a 401k is. He probably doesn't know where the name came from, but he knows that it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have if your employer is willing to give you it. And yet, people don't know how good 664 is because that number hasn't been emblazoned in their psyche. It isn't being told to them by their broker. It's not being told to them by their insurance agent, not being told to them by the people that set up 401ks talk about 401ks. They don't talk about 664s. So our job, and I'm glad you're participating today, Clay, because it's really important. Clay is, I know you're on our list of advisors. And so if you're listening out and you want to get in touch with Clay, you're in Georgia.
I'm in Canton, Georgia.
Right.
We're in the northern suburbs of Atlanta.
Okay, and so anybody, this streams everywhere, internationally, interplanetarily. So our message is getting out to a lot of people. And if you're in Georgia and you want to get in touch with somebody that knows how to do this kind of planning because you think you need it, and it could help you, and you understand how good it is, how much power there is, the power of love. Reach out, look on our website, socialcharity.org. That's socialcharity.org, and go to find an advisor. And Clay is listed there. It's a free service that we provide to professional philanthropic advisors so that we know that the word will get out about 664 and the power of love and our equation, the theory of social charity, where 664 equals E squared. You, I don't know if you use the other forms of social charity that are the ones that are charitable gift annuities and pooled income funds. Do you do any of that kind of work?
I use donor advised funds.
Okay.
I set those up with various custodians that we use through our investment firm.
Mm-hmm.
Schwab, TD Ameritrade, Schwab, Fidelity, all have good donor advised fund programs that we send our clients to when they want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I do charitable gift annuities, and the extent of what I do with gift annuities is like I'll have a mom and pop client that are giving a certain amount to their church or to the Heart Association or whatever it may be in a given year, and they may have some low producing assets. And I'll bring up, what if you could get a better return on those low producing assets and yet gift a larger lump sum to the charity of your choice? Would that be something that would interest you? And then we kind of structure their own gift annuity. We'll use a single premium immediate annuity, which would, in many cases, almost double the interest income that they're getting from that low producing asset, and leave a lump sum or give a lump sum outright at that time to their church or whatever charity of their choice.
Well, human kindness and spreading the word of human kindness and getting people to understand that it is an individual benefit to help others in this process, that you benefit from helping others in the long term, but in the short term, you have the benefits of what you've done. And that's really a powerful part of the planning process. My guest is Clay Tucker from Georgia, from
Canton, Georgia.
Oh, Canton. Okay, because I think never mind, Clay. Thank you for joining us this morning on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness, and good luck with everything that you're doing. And we should talk more about maybe working collaboratively. We can help you, and you can help us possibly.
All right. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Take care, Clay. And that is going to be another one of our interviews that will be playing on route664.org radio. You don't need to use the radio. I think it's just route664.org. Yeah, Clay is very, very talented professional philanthropic advisor in Georgia. And they're very valuable advisors to know. And we recommend that you think about this. I'm going to go into our lesson today in a little while, but I did want to talk to you a little bit about Jerry and Marge Go Large. I don't know if you've seen the movie or if it's out yet. I did see it online, and it's a fascinating story about somebody who discovers a way to beat the lottery. And that discovery, I kind of liken that to the discovery of 664. They're similar. It's similar types of discovery, except that with the lottery, you have all those other factors. You have the potential of other people understanding what you're doing as well. In this case, if other people know what you're doing with 664, it's okay. But it was being used to change the world around him. He was Jerry and Marge were very giving people, and so their success became the success of this town that they lived in, and it was something that they were sharing with the community. And so that also has the overtones of human kindness, which are very important in our world today. And so I wanted to make kind of an analogy between learning how to beat the lottery and also learning how to beat a little bit of the system of taxes and also financial planning. That's what 664 does. It's a very powerful tool. So in my interview with Jerry, I know you heard it. I mean, with Clay, you heard it many, many times over. The formula for the theory of social charity, which is 664 equals E square, where 664 is a section of the tax code, the Internal Revenue Code, and it also produces E squared, which is endowment squared, meaning two endowments. And I gave you this date right now for a very important reason. When you're doing 664 planning, when 664 is going to be used, is generally around this time of the year. We go to all of our client base and we ask all of our client base, look at your prospective income for 2022 and the date of 12/31 when there's a cutoff for you to be able to do anything about what we're talking about. The income that you earn in through 12/31/2022 is going to be locked in, and that is what is going to create what's taxable. We don't know what the taxable part of that is until you go to your accountant. You decide
and he tells you what's taxable. Now, if you wait until 12/31 or after 12/31 to find out what was taxable, you can't do something that is deductible for that year. And that's what's important about timing with regard to 664. So a very interesting question was asked. I had a meeting with two of our creative staff, Guido and Osman, and they're young entrepreneurial people. That I said to them, would this sound like something you'd want to have? And I realized that it's better for them to have this and then figure out how to use it going forward. And so I have decided we're going to give them a 664, each of them a 664. And they said, well, how do we do that? So I said, well, there's certain questions that you have to answer. Number one, we know who the grantor is going to be because we're going to make each of you the grantor. You're going to be granting gifts or granting the trust to receive anything that you put into it, the 664 trust, you're going to be the grantor. Now, the trustee can be yourself, or it can be a corporate trustee, it can be a charitable trustee, but you do have the right to be the trustee, and whoever is the trustee gets to make the decisions about how that trust functions. That trustee has a responsibility to have administration done properly, and that means that the tax returns for that trust have to be completed. So the trustee has to find an administrator to administer the trust, and that will take care of his obligation as far as administration is concerned. Then you have to choose who the income beneficiary is, and most people, when they create these, they become the income beneficiary. The grantor becomes the income beneficiary. And then the next decision is who are going to be the charitable beneficiaries. The charitable beneficiaries can be changed by the trustee along with the grantor at any time in the life of the trust. So this is not fixed. The charitable beneficiary is a variable. The income beneficiary is not. The income beneficiary always stays the same, and the grantor always stays the same. The trustee can be changed. So what is the 664 in essence? It's a trust that you create. It's a paper person that gets its own tax identification number, and that person has the ability to receive property. It can receive cash, it can receive non-cash assets like stock, real estate, business interests. So when you're getting close to 12/31 of 2022, it's important to have made the decision long before you get to that stage to be able to utilize this properly. And once you've created a 664, depending on the style of the 664, and that's a very important question as well, is what is going to be the style that you're going to use for 664? Is it going to be one where you could put contributions in multiple times? Is it going to be one where you only make one contribution? Is it going to have a fixed income for life? Or is it going to have a variable income for life? Those are things that you have to decide on. You can also decide what is going to be held inside the trust as far as investments are concerned. So, for example, you want to give a piece of real estate that you've purchased where you're going to be selling that real estate now and you have a capital gain. Let's say you own a shopping center and you've owned it for many years, a shopping strip mall, and that strip mall has increased in value tremendously over the years. It is now past the 25th year, and it's you're finished with the right to deduct the basics of the property, in that you are limited now where you can't take off the appreciation. You've got to deal with the growth, and you're not getting as much income from it as it's worth, and you're also having to pay for maintenance. You got to insure it, you got to pay the taxes, and all those things are some things that you want to get rid of, and you don't want to make a transfer to another piece of real estate that puts you into the same position for a longer period of time. So you want to make that change, but the taxation is something that you're looking at, And you also want to be able to protect it against the state taxes in the future. You might want to have a way to pass some of that on to your children. And then that's the point where you start to look at the 664 as a device. It also creates tax deductions that you can carry forward. So not only do you avoid the capital gains tax on the transaction of selling the property, you also get a tax deduction for having put that property into the 664 in the first place. So it has some very significant tax ramifications. Once that property is sold inside the 664 trust, you can reinvest that money into anything you really want to invest in. There's very few restrictions on what you can do with that. And then once that occurs, it grows in a non-tax environment. And then it is the way the money comes out to you in the form of income depends on how it was created as to how it's taxed. And there's 4-tier accounting. So you can see it's complex. It is a little bit weighty in terms of what you have to understand about this, but it's really important that you work with an advisor that knows how to do this and simplifies the process for you, because that's what it's all about. It's how to use it, how to care for it, how to make it usable to the best of the device's ability, and do it in timely fashion. Having all of the information on how to do it, having all the information on what you're going to put into it, having all the information on how you're going to invest it, all of that can be done over time. But having it in effect and doing a transaction before the end of the year, before 12/31, is the only way that you can solve a tax issue in this year. So what does that mean? Let's say you have a really big tax year, or you are paying a very high percentage of your income because of the bracket that you're in, and you want to reduce that. So you're looking for deductions. The standard deductions that you can take are using an IRA, or you could have a pension or profit sharing plan, but those are limited to the dollar amounts that the government has prescribed, and you may need more. And if you need more tax deduction, you can do that by creating a 664 trust and then using property to put property into it that you are able to see in the future, where you're going to be able to avoid an additional tax to make that benefit of that particular property going in really great. So this is a job that involves love. This is where you're going to be having some love for yourself and love for your fellow man, because you know that at the end of the day, when you get finished with the income stream, because you're not here any longer, that's going to be gone to a cause that you want to support, and that's really powerful. So I thought the movie Jerry and Marge at Large is really a great way to look at this from a different perspective, from the perspective of you have a way to beat a system, and you take advantage of it, and you let other people benefit from it too. 664 is like that, except that it's not involving the lottery. It involves a section of the tax code. It involves you building an endowment for yourself, and then an endowment that you'll leave when you're gone. This is Route 664, the road to human kindness. We hope that you'll tune into route664.org, streaming what we're having our conversations with our interviewees, where we talk about all the different sides of philanthropy and how they can help you and how you can benefit from them and how you can feel better by being a philanthropist and feeling good about sharing love and being kind to others. That's a really nice way to spend the day, listening to the programming on route664.org. If you're interested in finding out more about Socials to Charity, go to the website, socialstocharity.org. You can find out more about 664 there. You can find an advisor as well. Go to one of the buttons that says Find an Advisor, a professional philanthropic advisor. It'll take you to the listings of all of our advisors. You can search for advisors there. That's a free service. This is a 501c3 organization, and it is done for the public's benefit. So we hope that you'll take advantage of it. It's been around since 1969, and unfortunately, not many people are aware of it, but we're going to try and change that. And that's what this is all about. So join us again next week for Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. We'll see you then.